Hello folks and welcome back. In this episode we're going to work on the clean room and I want to get it finished to the phase 1 stage, which I think of as able to close the door, make a door frame, fit a door, line the remaining 2 walls and get it to the stage where I can heat it. Let's make a start. I've cleared this wall and it's time to put some of this lining material up. I've got about half the wall lined now. I think I've done the awkward bits and I've got the door propped in place just as a mock-up. I've got 3 more rows of chipboard or particle board to put on the wall, and that's what this stuff here is. That wall is done. Okay, next one is that wall. Better move some stuff first. I think what I'm going to have to do is put some studs in specific locations to provide somewhere to fit shelf brackets, because this area is going to have hardwood shelves left to right that are full width, and it needs planing and thicknessing and edge jointing. I have got 4 lights in the ceiling and I did get plug bases put in for 2 additional ones. I may spread these lights out slightly and put some central ones in because you can't have too much light. Rusty's pretty good at jumping. He's much heavier than when we got him, but that still doesn't stop him jumping up and down these big desks and things like that. He's not real familiar with the camera. I'll see if I can get him a treat. Stay there, Rusty. Good boy. Good boy. So the green line on the wall is where a new desk ends that I would like to put in here. Currently I've got a 1.8 metre desk. This is the desk here, 1.8 metres or 6 feet long, and I've got a small cabinet that my 3D printer goes on. And if I put a desk in that's from this wall up to just shy of where the door opens to, then that will be 2.4 metres long, which is a very convenient size. Because when I was up at Emma's last year, the end of last year, I bought this plywood. Pretty nice stuff. It's furniture grade, no voids, but it's softwood. So it's unusual. It's not stuff I've seen before. I guess it's old. But yeah, that is 2.4 metres long, 250 wide. And it's going to be nice. It's going to make a desk for me. So, but not yet. Got to get the walls up first. The yellow beam, the upright part, shows the centre of the room, and if this socket was moved to this side of this stud, it would mean that the sockets are within sort of 10 mil of being symmetrical to the room. Alright, 25 minutes later, and I managed to find a qualified electrician on Gumtree, and he came out and immediately did these changes, and that's it. And if you're wondering why all my tools are out, it's because he didn't have any tools, so I lent him my ones. But yeah, nice and symmetrical, or within 10 mil, so happy with that. Now I've got to put a central stud in, and 1 each side. Okay, the 3 extra studs are in. This one, and this one. And they are on centre and very plumb. They're sort of within 1 millimetre or better. And I've fixed them with 2 screws from one side and 1 screw from the other side. I've sort of toe-nailed them. Here's where we are now. I've done the strapping. These straps are just from a coil of nylon strapping material for packing parcels and so on. And I've just stapled it to the back of the studs. In some places where I can't access the backs of the studs, I've pulled it round, stapled it, folded it, stapled it, and in places where I can reach the back, I've just stapled the back. Next step is to insulate, and I hate insulation. Fiberglass and mineral wool getting on my skin, so I'm going to try out this. They also get in my clothes, and then even when they're washed I can detect the itchiness, so I don't know if I'm extra sensitive to it, but it really gets on my nerves. Puts me in a bad mood for a week. Okay, well, as I think I said before, I really don't like getting this stuff on my skin. Apologise for the bad audio. Yeah, I don't want to take any precautions. should do the trick. Okay, I can't see anything, but at least I'm not getting stuff on my skin. Most of this wall is done. There's a couple of openings to do still. It's going well. I've got some more details at the top that still need fiberglassing up to the ceiling there, or up to the upper floor. Well, this is still day 2, and we've got most of this wall lined. So we've got 1, 2, almost 3 and 4. Okay, well, these 2 walls are now lined, so pretty pleased with that. There's a bit of a cock up here. I measured the offset from the wrong side, but with some filling and sanding that will go away like all the other joints. And I've given the main workshop a bit of a tidy up. This was ankle deep in sawdust a minute ago, half an hour ago. So yeah, this area works quite well as a sort of sheet material handling area if I need it. So all-purpose table, useful. Okay, well it's the 3rd day now, and today's job is to line the back of this wall. So I've got to move some stuff, including that tool and cutter grinder, and also the gaps above the I-beam. I've got to get some insulation into there just so the room is sealed off. So I will start by moving this stuff. Okay, 10 minutes later and this wall is exposed again. So here's what we've got. This is the other end of the short wall I made. It's tied into the, this was the existing wall. And I've left a gap above of a few millimetres just to allow for deflection. But I can't imagine that beam is going to deflect over that span. But I think it's best practice not to jam these frames in tight. So I've got it sort of floating on a screw here that on a bolt here that stops it from flexing that way, forwards and backwards. But yeah, this whole span is only 3.5 meters. Fiberglass time. Well, there's the partition wall, insulated, and I've gone over the top of this I-beam as well, filled in any gaps between floor joists above. I do need to think about what to do with that I-beam because it's a cold bridge at the moment. It's not got any insulation on it, so I may get some of the insulation board that you can get and stick it in that gap. Emco's just had a dust off. It's been hidden behind the Primo lathe. This one here, it's been hidden behind that for at least half a year, so haven't been able to get to it at all. So I've just given it a dust off. It's got it had a film of oil on it, and dust had stuck to that. So I'll sweep the floor now and shuffle this lathe out, and we should be able to access that wall. Okay, I've got about 80% of this wall done. All the way down to the floor. There's just those bays at the top and then up against the floor joists. So that's not going to take too long, but I've got to stop for lunch now. So I found some timber. I'm going to try and get the door frame out of these 2 and this one. This one's rough sawn, needs a bit of a plane. And this one should give me nice material for the door jambs, the door stops that the door stops against. Okay, well this is my setup on the table saw. I've got a flexible hose on the dust extractor, and I've got wheels on the table saw, so I can pull it out towards me and angle it, and you know, I can roll the bandsaw around the corner, and between this jointer and the red toolbox there I've got nearly 5 meters of working space. And I just tilted this a little bit, and it wasn't very hard to get some pieces 2.4 meters through the diagonal. And here's some offcuts, and here's the bits I've just milled or rough sawn. These are the door stops, and you know, obviously 3 pieces for the lining for the hinges to go into. This one's rough sawn, so that'll get planed in a minute. And I might see how these sand up, or I might skim them on the planer thicknesser. Okay, hardwood lining is in place. Trimmed and planed those, or sawed and planed those pieces, just fitted them now. I've screwed them in. I'm not too fussed about having to fill those screw heads. These are hardwood, but I'm going to be painting them all, so I don't mind filling. and I've left a 12 to 13 mil place for lining here. If I have to trim that back, then I can, or I can rebate the architrave, whatever. This side is quite neat. I like how clean that's come out. It almost doesn't need any architrave, but I'll use some anyway. Provide a bit of damage protection to the corners. Next stage is to make the door swing. I think this door is second hand. I think it was used as a wardrobe door or a cupboard door, so I'm just taking off these lightweight hinges. I've got some butt hinges, sorry, that will go into a little mortise rather than being flush mount. These are the original hinges, and they're style where both leaves are all in one plane and you don't cut a mortise for the hinge to go in. So they're kind of easier to fit. They're a sort of a DIY kind of hinge, really. These ones are stronger, and they go into a mortise in both sides, which is beneficial for strength. And there's much more meat both sides of the hinge pin. You know, even if you take into account that they're different size hinges, this is a better style of hinge. Screws are fatter too. And a bit of a trick that I've got is I go all around the door with a stud finder and figure out where the timbers start and stop for my hinges, and especially for the locks. So you can see here I've marked out, that's definitely the lock side, and this is where the supporting timber inside is. So yeah, I use one of these. These are cheap. You can get those anywhere. And these are just zinc plate hinges, indoor hinges. First thing I've done is draw around the hinge with it in position using a marking knife. And I'm using a lovely Japanese marking knife that Emma gave to me. Thank you, Emma. And the way I'm marking it is I'm using the knuckle on the very top. So the knuckle is fully sticking out. And that method works well for me. And obviously I've got to take into account that the door opens whichever way. Next thing you might think about is how deep do I mortise these hinge leaves in? Well, if you hold that hinge parallel, and if you mortise the leaves in so that the leaves are just flush, then the gap between the leaves is going to be the gap around the door, or at least on the hinge side. Oh, well, I'm chopping away at this mortise, and I'd forgotten a step. It's been a few years since I've fitted a door, but this is a marking gauge. You get them in all different styles. Some of them have a pin, some have a round blade. And what you're meant to do, or what I like to do, is set the depth of the marking gauge to the thickness of the hinge, and then run the marking gauge along the outside of here so that I have a reference for the depth. And obviously you do that before you start mortising. I could add a spacer and add some offset and run it across the top of a spacer. That would work, but I'm just going to do it by eye. Right, well, I've got the hinges mounted, and they look like that, and the door is now swinging, but there are no door stops yet, and there is no proper latch. This is just whatever handle was on it when it came. Now I've planed off 3mm here, and the way to do that, by the way, is just to push it in a little bit and use half the width of a pencil, just to give you the gap. But it was bang on. You can see through there at the moment. I'll put a photo on screen of how this was before I planed it. It did just close. So I got the framing spot on because it just closed, but there was almost no gap. So it needs a bit of gap just for paint on both sides and to allow for a bit of movement. So, but yeah, there is a door. Technically, there is a door on the clean room now. It's not finished. But that is a milestone, and if it looks like there's a bit of a gap at the bottom, that's because there is. I've allowed for 2 layers of carpet tiles, 12mm. I'm going to have a layer upside down to act as an underlay, just because I've got lots of carpet tiles, and another layer the right way around, of course. So that's good. I'm happy with that. Okay, well, door stops are on. The door stops are this bit here, needs a sand, needs painting, and door handle is on. No play, I need to fill a couple of holes, but you get the idea. That's how it works. So I'm very happy. This door is now sealed. This is the draft excluder. This was intended for the bathroom upstairs, but since I'm not laying the carpet until we get to phase 2, I thought in the meantime this would be a good way to keep some cold out. Now this is the exciting bit. Now this room is sealed up, I'm able to put a heater in. So this is a very low power heater. It's about 400 watts, but I've been testing it for the last couple of days, and it is amazing how little power this room takes to heat. It's now insulated on all 4 walls and all the way up to the ceiling and all the way up to the subfloor above. And when I turn this heater off and let the temperature just decay naturally, it takes like 12 hours to drop a degree or 2. It's really amazing. So this heater is actually on a smart plug that I've got plugged into my home automation system, and I control the temperature in here with my own code. In fact, I've got a little ESP32 with a temperature and humidity sensor on here. Don't know if you can see that. I have these all over the house, and they give me sort of climate information. And yeah, I have a sort of thermostat, a software thermostat that controls when this comes on and off. And it's all accessible through the phone, through the web browsers and stuff. So this room is a stable temperature now, within about 0.1 degree, and it's excellent. Walk in here and it's comfortable, and I can sit and I can be sort of motionless editing, and excuse the mess, but we've finally got this room usable. The next thing to do, I suppose, is to clean the clean room. That'd be a good start, wouldn't it? That's my electronics cabinet. The desk, the new desk I mentioned, will come to here and replace this cabinet and this desk. These books and projects and a few bits of hardware and a few sort of camera things will go on shelves that go from this ledge to the ceiling, from wall to wall. This wall is the metrology area. I've got the hardness tester, microscope, my tooling cabinet, which has got mics and indicators and height stand and all the rest, and my shadow graph. This is all going to be on a table that I've got. I've already got the table, I just need to shorten it and get rid of these 2 filing cabinets. And my surface plate has room to fit in here too, but that needs its own stand. So rather than talk about what I'm going to do, I'm just going to leave that for a future video. One more look around. Yeah, very happy. Well, thanks for watching. I hope that was a bit interesting, and I'll see you in the next video.